Welcome to Hidden Tracks Podcast. My name is Shane Murphy, your host for this podcast. As always, you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. If you like what you're hearing, 5-star reviews, like, subscribe, all that good shit that you need to do to enjoy us. What we do here, we are the musical podcast trying to get fans out there to find new music, musicians to find new fans, and help everyone support in the world of music, the universal love language of music. You can find us at myhiddentracks.com. If you want to reach us, send us an email, myhiddentracks99@gmail, or at Twitter. It's at myhiddentracks1, Hidden Tracks on Facebook, hiddentracks99 on Instagram. Today, I'm delighted to have Mike Richards, goes under the musical moniker of A Note to Self. He's from Alexandria, Virginia, and he's a singer-songwriter. He's been in bands before, so I'd just like to welcome Mike to the podcast. Mike, welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time, and let's have some fun today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how are you coping through a pandemic and being a musician right now?
Well, at first it was real tough. I ended up having to go through the motions of what everybody was going through around like March, where like literally you just get all the phone calls and like everything's canceled. Right now my main source of income is actually just like playing gigs, kind of like the bar gig sort of a situation. So when all of that was canceled, I was kind of like, oh, well, guess I'm going to be burning through a lot of my savings here. So dealt with that. But as soon as phase one hit in Virginia, I was pretty much right back to it. So just right back in the game. And I started getting booked up for about 4 to 7 nights a week again.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So since about June, I've been doing kind of all right. And then I got back to the place where I'm not, whole, but I was able to kind of say, all right, well, I have these songs that I wrote like during lockdown, and I would really like to get them recorded and put out there. So let's, just get the thing done. I contacted some of the people that I knew were going to be great for the job. People who I hadn't worked with quite yet, but I always knew I wanted to. And yeah, so even in COVID, I've been able to record this whole record. I did it in September. And yeah, so it's been pretty much it between just playing a ton again and getting back into it and just recording, writing.
Yeah. And you just had a new single come out called Love Drunk.
That is correct.
It's really good. What led you to that place too? I know it's been difficult for people, and right now a lot of people you can do is just start releasing songs and getting them out there as fast as possible. Was that a song that you wrote during COVID or prior to the pandemic? Or
it was. So I was sitting down and working on just every day. I wanted to spend 20 minutes just writing alone in complete silence. And there's just like something that there's always a theme that kind of sticks out. And in this case, it was just that whole thought. And there's a quote that the song starts out with from a book that's they say our hearts are wild creatures. That's why our ribs are a cage. And it just went from there. And it just felt like it, it's a very hopeful thing. It's just, we rise, we fall, we run, we crawl, we lick our wounds to start anew. It just felt very indicative of like what's going on now. And I don't know, just
the struggle of life.
Yeah, a little bit. But then there's always something that gets you through it. I mean, and that could be a relationship, that could be anything. But in this case, it just made sense for me to kind of put that into context. I started just getting into a new relationship, so obviously that's where my mind was. And yeah, so just
relationships, the greatest muse.
Sometimes.
So let's take this back to childhood. This is where I feel that everyone starts to start to figure out music, and I want to know if you remember your first musical memory, and I don't want it to be the Sesame Street stuff or, cartoon theme songs. Do you remember when music changed for you as a kid or even as an adult? Like music hits people at different times, but do you remember when you first heard something that was other than sing-along songs and other than Disney songs? Even though Disney songs, some of them were great. I mean, you have Elton John and Phil Collins and made great soundtracks for Disney, but when music changed for you, do you remember that time?
I do. It was the first time that I ever wanted to emulate somebody in the way they sang. And I remember I always wanted to be like that kid that like somehow met like, so I was a huge fan of the Beatles, first of all. My mom.
Where it starts for most people that I talk to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just Lennon.
I guess it's hard not to.
Right? Like they set the stage for so many people. So my mom worked at this place called Time Life, and she would get CDs and like, yeah, you get like the Kids Bop and whatever else they call those things. But I never really listened to those. She had the Beatles anthology CDs. And I just loved just sitting down and listening to them just like talking in interviews or like just in the studio, hearing the background noise and like just hearing the creative process of it all. But there was one song specifically that really stuck out to me, and it was Michelle. And so I remember like sitting down and being like, I need to like learn every single word to this song, and some of it's in French. So, and I had no idea what it meant in French. So I just like really delved into it a little bit and tried to just learn as much as I could, and then just listen to the rest of the tracks and drive my parents crazy on road trips because I was the kid in the back, like singing all the Beatles songs, like with headphones on. Didn't realize how loud I was. But yeah, no, it was definitely Michelle by the Beatles and Paul McCartney singing that.
That's all. That's awesome that you remember the song. I remember my song too. So
what was yours?
I'm not going to put that out there right now. We're going to do an episode where I answer all the questions that I've put out to artists, and artists are going to be able to write in, and I'm going to interview myself because I remember specifically, and it's kind of where and why I wanted to start this because it changed my life.
Yeah.
So where'd that lead you to next? I mean, if you're trying to learn to sing like somebody and you're so deep into the Beatles at that time, I mean, you're a musician now, so I mean, it was pretty poignant. And what was the progression then?
So, well, there were a couple of things. It was just mostly like listening to that and being so inspired, and just like always wanting to emulate those like little things that they do, like the oohs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like listening to the way that they just like would take elements of different artists that I already loved and then just like add that and put their own spin on it. That was just really cool to me. So I started wanting to like, I kind of wanted to get into instruments and all that anyway. But a big motivator was like, I was sitting in class and like, you would watch these kids like get up and go like out when I was like sitting down, like listening to like some science spiel or like something like that. And so I just kind of was like, all right, I want to go do what they're doing because it looks more fun than sitting down and like doing these math problems that like I've done like a million times.
Yeah.
And so like you get up and they would take us into a specific like classroom, I think once a week. And so you didn't get out of math entirely, but you just like, you still had a period of time where it like broke up the like monotony.
The monotony of 2 + 2 = 4.
Exactly. So we'd get to go do that. And I remember the first song that I really ever got to do was Star Wars on the violin. And I thought that was super cool. And then I just wanted to learn how to like do little things on like different instruments that just sounded like what I always liked hearing. So I started learning a lot of Beatles songs on like just singing them. Started learning some of the like little riffs on like violin, and then got into band, started doing some stuff on clarinet and saxophone. Became really into like, who is it? Billy Joel and Kenny Loggins, just with like the amount of saxophone that they've gotten at. And then eventually I got into middle school and I wanted to look cool. So I like always had a guitar pick in my mouth, like walking around, like trying to impress the girls before the spring formals. And like, I didn't know how to play the thing yet, but like, I just like, I thought it.
But you had the pick. You had the
Yeah.
pick with the lightning bolt on it that said you were cool.
Ooh, I don't know about the lightning bolt.
No Elvis lightning bolt TCB taking care of business on it. That's what I would
No,
have had in my mouth.
I wasn't that hip. I was just like a standard Fender pick. It was just like, yeah, but I don't know. I got in trouble once because apparently an adult thought it was a cigarette in my mouth. Yeah.
Very easy to confuse a pick and a cigarette.
Yeah, right. I was kind of shocked by that, but she saw that quickly it was a pick, and she was like, "Oh, I'm very sorry, young man." Yeah, I don't know why that stuck out in my mind, but I really started getting into the guitar and all that when I was in high school, when my freshman year, and then that's when I like started learning songs off the radio, just like John Mayer, who is it, Coldplay. Goo Goo Dolls were another big one, Incubus, and I just started really like getting into all of those and just like learning a lot of the like early 2000s kind of vibe, and I just loved it.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple things that I need to dissect into what you just said. The first one is learning Star Wars on the violin. So that was like your first into an instrument. Was that your first into an instrument of playing something, and it was Star Wars on the violin?
That's the first one that I remembered, like, and it wasn't anything crazy. It was just the da 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 da. Yeah. Like, so I just like learned how to do the melody line for it. That's just the first thing I remembered after like doing your standard like exercises, and like, you know, it was the popular song that I did instead of like Hot Cross Buns.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. The next thing that you brought up a band, the Google Dolls.
Yeah.
So tying into what you do, you were in a band prior to, which was a little bit poppier, punkier, called The Offset, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so now I was a Google Dolls fan for a very long time, and I was a punk skater kid, and they were punk as punk could be when they first came out. And then they moved on and kind of had, I guess, what your progression is into a softer melody. And I mean, was that any inspiration for you to change what you were doing, or was it a natural progression for you and leading you back to that Beatles sound?
I think really like the Offset was a culmination of the members in the band. So I was mostly just doing a lot of the writing for the melodies, for the vocals, and doing like just the rhythm guitar. So I'd sit down and like work on something, and then I'd take it to the guys and be like, "Hey, let's check this out and let's try to make something with this." And just it never really like, we didn't have that just thought of like, "Hey, we're going to do exactly what like the Goo Goo Dolls are doing." We were always just kind of like, we want to do something for ourselves that sounds pretty cool. And if this is the progression that we're going to, then let's just explore this a little more.
All right. So you're in high school, you're learning guitar. Was it just ingrained in you at that point? Like, I want to do this. Music is what I want to do. This is what I want to choose to do. Or was it more of a struggle and more of a, when I say, I'm going to say outside influences, but outside influences is usually parents. Was it something that you were just like, you enjoy it so much and you really think you want to make a go of it? Was it easy for you? Was it hard to make that decision?
So, I mean, my parents didn't really want me to do music per se. They were more like, we need to make sure that you're like living and doing something practical, but like, you can always have that off to the side, you know, you can always just like play your guitar at home and like enjoy it. But in high school, like I was just kind of obsessed after a while. I would literally just record myself in my bedroom, on one of those like old school Radio Shack, like tape recorders.
Yep.
So I would like just ask my mom for a stack of tapes for my birthday or for like Christmas, and that's all I wanted. And like, I would just get the blank tapes and then just like pop it in. You'd have to hit like the play and the record button at the same time. And
we all had them. All had them.
Oh man. I found I'm actually moving in about a week. So I've been kind of going through some old stuff and trying to figure out what I'm taking with me. And I found like this tape from like the first 6 months of me playing. And I was like, wow, I like recorded myself every day for 6 months. And I just would listen to myself and like try to improve on what I thought could make it better. And so I was just like that meticulous, crazy kid that like didn't really go out and hang out with like all of his friends. He just kind of like stayed in his bedroom and just recorded himself over and over again, like a crazy person. So yeah.
So you're doing that, and you're finding that you're extremely meticulous in that. And when did you start to play live? Was it like a talent show in high school, or
yeah. So that's kind of where it started coming in. So I was in this guitar class in West Potomac High School, where they had this thing called Performance Friday. And it was kind of the teacher's way to get us like kind of just playing in front of people. And it was just in front of like all of your classmates that like, it was kind of an open kind of format, which I'd never been in before. It was like, all right, sit down, practice your stuff. This is what we're going to do. We have all the things that we need to practice as a group when we go to like do these concerts in like some other high school. But like when you want to work on your own stuff, you could do that on your own time. Just make sure you get your stuff done and make sure you meet your deadlines. So I always found that format really nice because it just left it like very open-ended. So Performance Fridays were where it kind of started, where I was like playing for my classmates. And I never really thought of myself playing outside of like just my bedroom. And then they would have...
That is an awesome format because it kind of, it helps you with that. What I think a lot of people have is that stage fright and performing in front of people. So that's pretty cool to have that in a school.
Absolutely. Like the nerves were just nuts. Then they asked me to play something for like a big event for the high school. And the first time I played, I guess, on a stage in front of people was when I was 14 or 15 years old. And I played a song that I wrote called About You that I'd never like played publicly. And I remember like my right leg would not stop shaking. And I was like literally a huge assembly with my entire high school class. And it's like it's a big school. It's 3 buildings. So like the whole thing is full. And I'm like, all my peers, everybody I know is out here. And I'm sitting here playing in front of them, like without a clue of what I'm doing. And like, it just got bad. Like my voice was quivery. Like I had the guitar in my hands, but I couldn't really play it because my like right leg was shaking so much that like it was bouncing the guitar. And I just felt like, ugh, it was rough, man.
Yeah, it's that nervous. Mine's my left leg. I'm lefty, so my nervous tension goes through my left leg. So if we ever sit down and meet, and my left leg starts bouncing up and down frantically, that means I'm nervous. So
okay. Well, hopefully I don't make you nervous.
Yeah. So how did you after that? I mean, if you have an experience like that, it's got to be hard to just be like, all right, does this get better? I mean, how did you overcome that?
I think that's what it was. It was like, the longer you do anything, the better you get at it. Right. So I didn't want to have that awkward thing of like, I don't know how to control my like body when I'm like playing in front of people. Like, this is ridiculous. How do I get better with this? So I kept at it until it just turned into, I can do this. And like, it just became second nature.
So About You, that was the first song you shared to the public?
That is correct. On a live stage format.
Yeah. So when did you start just continue to writing, and how did you figure out how to write songs and melodies and harmonies? How was that? Just going back and listening to the Beatles stuff? And how I always say, a lot of people, the best way to steal in life is with your eyes and ears. And it's really a format that I use in life and every day is, when you can see something or hear something, it helps you out in life, whether it's good or bad. It can help you make a right decision or a wrong decision. Yeah. Was that what you were doing, listening to other music, trying to figure out the songwriting template that you needed to use?
I'm not sure if that was ever the thing. I got really into writing poems, like at a very young age. So I liked writing poems all the time. And just like I was really into just expressing myself that way. And when I picked up a guitar, I was like, I might as well just take these poems and put like music to them and try to like just make this work, and then take the one line that is my point and then just make that the chorus, and let's just keep going with that.
Well, that's pretty awesome that you figured that out to do that on your own. There's a lot of people, that you read. I look at things where I can hear a song, and then when I go and read the lyrics, it's a totally different song to me. And guess that's what happens with poetry, because poems and music, it really is. A song is a poem put to music, but I think they take on different life forms when you hear it to music than when you sit down and read it. Absolutely.
I 100% agree with that. I'm a very, very lyric oriented person as well. And I can sit down and listen to the riffs, and that's one thing that I feel not enough people do, is like, all right, like do the play it again method. Like, just like, let's sit down and like play it again. Let me hear it again and figure out what like I really like about this. And I don't know, like, it's like watching a movie like for the second time and realizing like all these little things that you never saw,
Yeah, like Anchorman, when I first saw it, I thought the movie was and then I watched it a second time and I'm like, oh, so this is the funniest movie ever made. Yeah. That's why with music, with me, I have a rule of 5. I have to, and it takes me a while because I have so much music and I am a judgmental asshole. And sometimes I need to tamp down my own judgments to where like I have to listen to a song or an album 5 different times, 5 different ways for me to be like, is it worth going back to it or not? Wow. And, I have the simple driving in a car, mowing my lawn, sitting out on the deck. Like I have these different, having it on in the background during a party and, seeing other people's reactions and just having it as filler. Like I have 5 different ways to know if like, okay, this album is good or it's not. And yeah, I've made mistakes before where I listen to something once, I'm like, this is garbage, and I never go back. And then 2 years later, I'm like, what is this album? I don't even remember who this is. And I put it in. I'm like, wow, this is really good. Why don't I listen to this all the time? But it's probably because I was that judgmental asshole at the time that wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's like, it doesn't hit the right way and you just gotta, so I feel that. It sounds like you have a lot of parties though.
I'm a huge fan of people. I'm a huge fan of talking to people. I really enjoy learning about people, like what we're doing now. I enjoy it. It's interesting to me. That's why I read a lot of biographies and autobiographies, because it's kind of cool. Because it's really awesome. You never know who someone is. You never really, truly, you can have that judgment like I have. As soon as everybody does judge a book by its cover, whether they want to say that or not, they do. Yeah. And same thing with album art. When there wasn't Spotify and let's go back to LimeWire and Napster and all that. When there wasn't that thing, you were judging albums by their cover if you didn't know the music, because you couldn't hear it. Yeah. There was no way to hear it. So and when you hear something and that you're still judging it, but it takes on a different life form. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. So your progression is moving forward and you get to the point. When did you get with other people and start to collaborate with other people? I think I started that my sophomore year of high school. I played a couple more like shows, just like little coffee shop things that were going on at other high schools, little open mics, and finally got over that like nervous tick. And I had a friend of mine, Bird, who was really also into the Goo Goo Dolls, also really into Incubus. And I just loved the way he played.
and he was really good at electric. I was better with like just rhythm and acoustic. So we just sat down and got some stuff done. We started playing in the basement of this church where a buddy of mine who also was a drummer came in to play. I just found a guy who was a bassist and was like, let's try just playing some shows. And we started getting around to the local clubs around here. There's the Jam and Java. There's Jack's nightclub, which is now like some wedding venue. It's no longer Jack's nightclub. That's probably for the best.
That's a big transition.
Yeah. Just a lot of different places we ended up playing, through to me being in college, and we started kind of going and playing down in Richmond, up in Baltimore. We started kind of traveling a little more outside of our area and just, kind of doing the thing. Did some cool stuff. We opened up for the Whalers once.
Nice. Saw them a year ago or 2 years ago.
Yeah, they're fun, man.
Yeah, they're a party. Yeah. I mean, it's a party.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was just learning and just getting things done, and at some point that has to end, and that's when I kind of guess I started doing things alone and just started making things happen for myself.
And you're making things happen for yourself. What was that like without other people? Because I know a lot of times things can be easier when you're alone, and sometimes things can be harder because sometimes you don't have that muse or that passion or, inspiration, as I'll call it.
I think
how was that?
For me, I think it was, so everything was kind of a hobby for a while. And I was working at a 500-acre lakefront park with the park authority in this area. And then I was getting higher up, and I just kind of like realized like some of the politics and all that, and was like, I hate this. I really don't want to deal with this. Ended up getting like canned. And this was like while I was still like kind of doing stuff with the Offset, and in the midst of all that, like started doing things with A Note to Self. It was a 2-piece with my old lead guitarist Bird, which is why it's got TWO instead of just TO. Mm-hmm. And we recorded some stuff. We did a show at the Jam and Java with a bunch of songs that like I had written forever ago. And I hired a whole like production company to record the show and like videotape it. And that started leading to more opportunities when I like lost that job, and I got signed to a small label in Phoenix, Arizona that was kind of like, we want to try and like start making you think about this in a way that you're making a profit in music. Did that and started working with them, found out like some great opportunities around the country that I started playing. I started jumping onto Periscope, and just like, I think that's where I kind of started cutting my teeth a little bit, was like playing for strangers on the internet. Mm-hmm. And after a while, I just was like, all right, well, if I'm going to do this alone and I'm going to make this work, I need to be able to do this in a way that I'm able to make my own spin on it. Kind of like the Beatles. And like, just, it needs to be something that I feel intrinsically, because if I can make myself that good, then people will just automatically kind of feel what I'm feeling, right? So if I can like get that outward like feeling going, and if I can have people like really appreciate everything going on, then I can just keep doing this, and I'm gonna make money and hopefully like just start making records again instead of just like doing the cover band thing. So it just took a long time to figure all of that out and sit down, and I don't know.
Well, it seems like you have figured it out, which is good. I found you. You're always going to figure things out. You know, I guess that I talked to yesterday, I mean, 29 years in the business, still figuring it out. So it's a long road. It's a long road. So,
I mean, the day you stop learning is the day that it's not as fun anymore, right?
Yeah. And there's something that I live by. It is my thing that I hold dear to myself, that I need to learn something new every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Without that, my day was a failure. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be the smallest, minute little thing, but I love being able to go, oh, I never knew that.
That's kind of cool. I love that. It keeps things interesting.
Yeah. And the world is so huge, and there's so much out there, and there's so much that you're going to die never knowing about, that it's trying to, I try to learn as much as I can, because it makes my life more interesting. And then when I can throw out a shitty little tidbit to someone, I'm like, oh, you didn't know that either, huh? I learned that 2 days ago. So I'm going to ask you a question, and you're not allowed to say the Beatles.
Okay.
Who's your favorite band?
Ooh, right now? Probably Jason Isbell and the 400.
Okay. Good answer. And I spin off the favorite band and go to, I'm a huge proponent of perfect albums. By perfect albums, I mean you from song 1 to 12 or however many are on it.
Yeah.
You're never going to skip a song.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any albums that you just know, or you're going to put it on and you're not going to skip a tune and it's going to be over, and then you may go put on another one? Do you have any unskippable albums that you constantly go to? Yeah, in general, man.
General?
Like,
I feel like there's a few of those. Incubus Science was one huge one. What is it? I want to say, is it Billy Joel The Stranger? Is a really good one as well. Like going back to Incubus, was a huge fan of them back in the day. So just Morning View, I think, is just a
good
brilliant album.
Yeah, and that's another band with a progression of, you listen to their first album, it is funk, metal, junk jazz, like, and it's just, and then something clicks.
And then they Drive, and now that's all anybody wants to hear.
Yeah, and I think it's funny, and it happens to a lot of people. I've had people on that I've talked to and be like, man, your first album and your second album are so different. And, one of the best responses I got was, hey man, we didn't know who the fuck we were.
Yep.
Like, and it's true. And it's funny to go back, because that made me literally sit down and go back through my CDs, my tapes, my records, and just go back and be like, all right, I got to do the first album and do the second album of every band that I like and see how different it was.
Yeah.
Some people, locked into something right away, that was their sound and they figured it out on their first album. But other bands it's like, wow, okay. And then I can see also, like, a lot of my favorite bands made 2 albums.
Yeah. And
it's like, to me, it gets a little, I'm like, wow, I love them so much. Why they only make 2 albums and they're no longer together? But I guess sometimes it's you make 2 different complete albums, and then by the time you're going to your third one, you're like, okay, we just did those 2. We don't know who we are.
Yeah.
How did you have you figured out who you are yet? Or are you still a work in progress?
I honestly think that I am still a work in progress, but I think you're never really, like, complete as an artist. Like, you're never going to be, I feel like we're always a work in progress, It goes back into that whole thought of just, like, you learn something new every day, and then you'll hear something and you're like, wow, that's actually pretty dope. You just want to, like, throw that into, like, the next kind of idea that you're getting into,
Yeah. All right, I'm going to ask you another question, and there's no hiding from this.
Okay.
What do you have on, I guess nowadays, a Spotify playlist? For me, it was an iPod, that if someone picked it up and looked at it and been like, holy shit, you listen to this? Like a guilty pleasure. What do you have that you would be embarrassed if someone found out you listened to?
I don't know if I have much of that anymore.
Well, as you get older, you start to own up to things and you don't care what people think. But there had to have been something in your playlist that you're like, I really like this and I hope no one knows.
I think
like no NSYNC songs, no.
I don't even care, man. I do not mind that. I will listen to NSYNC and like be without any kind of shame. Them and the Backstreet Boys. That was one of the first CDs I had was Millennium by the Backstreet Boys. That's ridiculous. But I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is maybe Mbop by Hanson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. See, that's an answer. And listen, it's a guilty pleasure. It's a melodic song you can sing along to. But again, I'm not going to be happy if someone's like, why is Mbop on your playlist?
Yeah. Sometimes the heart wants what it wants.
Yeah. So what are your plans moving forward through? I mean, we're hitting this bullshit stride in the world again, and moving forward, do you have plans to put out a new album and go out on it, or what do you have moving forward that you're just really excited for the world to open up that you can get out there and do?
Well, I'm still in the process of releasing the rest of the tracks on XYO. I'm really excited about releasing the next one, The Other Side. It's one of my favorite ones on there. And then, I mean, I've already actually started kind of writing and planning ahead for the next record, and trying to get all the ducks there in a row, which is going to take some time. Obviously I want to give XYO its time to, be out in the world. And then it's just about, managing with things going on with COVID and trying to see where this goes, because obviously like I was playing across the country, before this whole thing struck. And now since it struck, I'm fortunate enough to be able to have work constantly in my area. But, I'd really like to get back out there, and I want to, give it a real shot with like maybe a real tour and like seeing real people and, doing the real thing.
Yeah. I miss the camaraderie at shows. I miss talking to people about music at shows and knowing that everyone's there for the same cause, and that's to have a great time and enjoy each other's company and listen to some great music. And I really miss that.
Yeah.
I think it's the thing I miss most right now.
It's just the whole communal feeling, it feels very apprehensive right now. People are so unsure, and it's just not what a show should feel like.
No, it's, someone does the, you're automatically, you're on edge, and it sucks. It really does. And it puts a hurt on so many people and musicians such as yourself. This is why we're doing what we're doing to help artists, in these troubling times. We really need to stick together, and music is a universal language. It's something that everyone can connect to. You can, you see bands that you love, and you see people in Japan that maybe don't even speak English screaming the lyrics at the top of their lungs. And like, it's such a universal language, and it's so important, and it's an art form, and it's so special, and it's so personal to me, that, I take ownership of everything that I love and I listen to, and it just becomes this personal passion that I have for something when I force things on people. Like, you have to listen to this song. It's the greatest thing ever. You have to listen to it. You have to listen to it. And you just push and push and push, and not being able to go see that song that I fell in love with live is just, it's such a heartbreak.
Yeah, that's tough.
So you brought up your new song you're going to release, and I'm going to ask you, if you can choose, and I always tell people it's like picking your favorite child. If and when you have children, do you have a favorite song that you've written and released for the world to hear.
Well, look, Shane, I love all of my children equally.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm the big three that I think are my favorites. Are 1,000 Days from my last record, 1,000 Days After.
Mm-hmm.
I've really Love Drunk. I'm really digging right now. And I think it might be The Other Side. Those are my big three right now. But obviously The Other Side and Love Drunk are very new. So I'm still very much like, all right, let's see how you guys, still in the play it again method right now. So I'm just kind of taking some time with it.
All right. Cool. Yeah, it's a hard question because asking an artist to tell me what their favorite thing about their, just telling Picasso, pick your favorite painting.
Yeah. So. I mean, and I wrote them. So it's like I love different aspects of them. And the thing that I always think about is like whenever I write a song, I already have like that experience that I lived through with what was going on in my mind. So I already like that's something that's painted in my mind. But the best thing about listening to other people's music is everybody has their own interpretations of it. And you always kind of take on what's going on in that song and you attribute that to your own life,
Yeah. And that's when it comes to music, that's the thing as well. You mature, and as you mature, things change, writing styles change, and music changes. We talked about Google Dolls, Incubus. Like you can tell when people mature and their music changes and the songs change, and people can go back and forth between the song I came out with 22 years ago is the best song I ever wrote, or the song I wrote yesterday was my favorite song and the one I wrote. Which is because you're maturing, your ear matures, everything about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of my guests brought up the very simple thing, and I use it all the time, and I never thought about it that way. But he said, when I was 18, someone put on Bruce Springsteen. I was like, what the hell is this shit? He goes, and now that I'm 40, I get Bruce Springsteen now, and I can listen to it because it was just maturing. Bruce Springsteen was already mature when he's coming out with Nebraska, and it just didn't click with you because you weren't there. You weren't at that point in your life. And when you get to be at that point in your life, now it means something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, so I don't want to keep you very long today. So we end our episodes every week. It's called our weekly threes.
Okay.
Need three things that you're listening to right now that you want people to check out. It could be new, it could be old, it could be an audiobook, but three things you're listening to right now that you'd like people to check out.
Let me think. I'm like opening up my Spotify playlists as I'm like
it's what everybody does.
Yeah. God, and there's like three, they're very different. Are we talking?
All right.
All right. Well, one big one is Elephant by Jason Isbell. That one like hits a certain way. Sweatpants, Childish Gambino. Completely different. And what's another one? It might be another Jason Isbell song. I think it's 24 Frames. I'm like obsessed with it right now. Like I can't stop listening to that song, and like I've just been playing it at shows, and I just love it, man.
Okay. My three bands that I've had on rotation this week are Cigarettes After Sex. They're a band out of Texas, kind of dream pop indie, just amazing music that I have on in the background at all times. Another band called The Beths out of New Zealand. They're an awesome indie pop rock. I hate labeling but we have to put things into genres. So people understand. But they're an indie rock pop, just an awesome band with a great female vocalist. And then going old school for a little while. I can't get enough of his voice at times, but the Lemonheads, Evan Dando, just something that I always forget until I hear his voice again. And I'm like, man, he's fucking special.
Damn.
So those are my three for this week. So why don't you tell everybody right now, get everything out, how to find you, how to get all your music, how to get everything you're doing, and how to follow you, and how to find things in the future.
If you go to www.anotetoself.com, TWO in the middle of that, you should be able to find everything. Spotify, iTunes, the new release for Love Drunk, and then you should also be able to pre-order. It's not even really a pre-order anymore. XYO has been released, so if you want to hear all the songs on Bandcamp, you could just pick that up right off of there. So you can already get to every single one of my tracks from that point, and you can pick up any digital copy from there.
Awesome. So, A Note to Self.
Yep, anotetoself.com. Oh,
awesome.
Sorry.
No, it's all. So, everyone, this was Mike Richards, A Note to Self. And as I ended, as always, everyone just go out and have a great time.